welcoming everyone to this video, which is based on Bhagavad Gita verses, the favorite verses, and which is a part of Formula 44 meditational techniques. So, in today's verse, we pick up the chapter 2, numbers 62 and 63. These are iconic verses. When I first learned them, it appeared absolutely transformational. I have not read anything as profound and as effective as these two verses from Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God. The verses are 62 and 63 from the second chapter, which is called Sankhya Yoga, the yoga of analytical studies of the soul. Dhyāyato viṣhayān puṁsaḥ saṅgāt teṣhūpajāyate saṅgāt sañjāyate kāmaḥ krodho bhijāyate krodhād bhavati sammohaḥ smṛiti-vibhramaḥ smṛiti-bhranśhād buddhi-nāśhāt praṇaśhyati. So it's a pair of two verses, and it is about the anger and greed, which are such pernicious symptoms which manifest and cause so many miseries, cause so many problems. So why does anger arise and why does greed arise? That the whole world is suffering from the ill effects of anger and greed. There is so much corruption in the world. There is so much anger in the world. And we don't seem to have a clue to overcome them. So let us see the verse numbers 62 and 63. What do they say about anger and greed? So it says that the anger is a symptom. The greed is a symptom. The real reason is the desire. Dhyāyato viṣhayān puṁsaḥ. When we desire an object, when we desire whatever, a relationship, acquisition, material, that desire makes us to get attached to that object or to the personality. Now, the attachment causes us to constantly contemplate about it. In other words, we can also say the attachment comes through contemplation, and the contemplation keeps getting stronger and stronger, and it can become a severe attachment and obsession. It would be good to illustrate with an example. For example, there is someone who is leading quite a peaceful life, but then one day his friend buys a car, and this person gets affected by the acquisition of the car by his friend. He sees him in the new car going around here and there, and he also develops the desire that enough of traveling in buses and metros, I should also have a car. Look at this person's status now. Everyone is talking about it, and the family members also can become a source of motivation for the person, because they start comparing. Look at this family, they are so comfortable, but we are not. Why can't we also buy a car? Now this example is more about, the families who don't have cars. It may not be a relevant example in some countries where car is a normal acquisition. So now this person is all the time thinking, I should also get this car. And now the contemplation becomes so strong that he takes a loan or does whatever so that he can also buy the car. So how all this is started? This is started with the thinking, the contemplation. When the thoughts started in the mind, and if the person was strong and he did not give credence to what was happening, he knows that he has invested in his house and now he doesn't have money to invest in car. And if he goes for a car, it will be a burden for him. He will not be able to afford. But the pressure from the family members and most importantly his own contemplation is such that he succumbs to that pressure. So this is what contemplation does. A person with a strong mind will overcome the challenge, but most of us will succumb to the pressure. So this is an example how the person contemplated, that led to attachment, obsession, and now there are two possibilities. Either the desire gets fulfilled or the desire gets not fulfilled. If the desire gets fulfilled, it leads to greed. Meaning, the person acquired the car, he was very excited about it initially, but now after 2 years, his neighbor has upgraded the car and he has gone for a more luxurious, superior car. Now this also starts affecting the neighbor. And the cycle goes on and on. The fulfillment of desire results in greed. Now suppose the desire was not fulfilled, then it leads to anger. And anger is very dangerous. Anger causes the most damage to the individual. We don't realize, but that's the fact. Some experts say it is like taking a knife and stabbing into your own leg. Because the cause of the anger was an external input, but we got so affected, we remained raging with the reaction and caused so much of grief to ourselves. That is the message of these two shlokas. Dhyāyato viṣhayān puṁsaḥ saṅgāt teṣhūpajāyate saṅgāt sañjāyate kāmaḥ krodho bhijāyate krodhād bhavati sammohaḥ sammohā smṛiti-vibhramaḥ smṛiti-bhranśhād buddhi-nāśho buddhi-nāśhāt praṇaśhyati. It all starts with the contemplation about the object, and the contemplation leads to attachment. And now there will be two consequences. Either the desire gets fulfilled or desire doesn't get fulfilled. If the desire gets fulfilled, it leads to greed. And if the desire doesn't get fulfilled, it causes anger. And in the anger, a person loses his control on the mind and he falls down. Amazing verse, transformational for me, and I'm sure it is transformational for many. Some people may argue and say, then is it wrong to have desires? No, it is not wrong to have desires, but we have to analyze and take action which is beneficial, which is not going to cause us damage and grief and misery. So it is about controlling the desires. Is anger bad? Anger is bad, but what about anger about our own failure? In that case, the anger becomes useful. We wanted to get up every morning at 5 o'clock and do some exercises, but we are not able to do it. So we become angry on ourselves. That anger is beneficial. And there can be several other examples of such cases of anger and greed where it is divine, it is beneficial for our own self. At the end of this video, I would like to just talk about a very beautiful story which I read about a celebrated philosopher and divine personality called Shankaracharya, Lord Shankaracharya. He is the proponent of Advait philosophy, the non-dualism. And once in his hermitage, a scholar came from Kashi. He said, "Sir, I have heard so much about you. I have come to your shelter. Please take me as a disciple of yours." Shankaracharya said, "You want me to make you my disciple, but I don't think you are ready for it." When he said this to the disciple, he reacted. He said, "Oh, but you can test me, you can do a debate with me." Then Shankaracharya said, "Look at your pride. You are saying that I am your guru, and how you are reacting." The person realized his mistake and said, "Yes, you are right. Please tell me what to do." So he said, "You will have to go and do practice for 6 months. Go into this place known for devotion and austerities. Do intense practice and come back after 6 months." So when he came back after 6 months, Shankaracharya instructs his maid that when this person is entering the gate, you pretend you are sweeping the floor and sweep some dust on him accidentally. So after 6 months, when the person came in, the lady swept some dust on his clothes, and that enraged the person, and he shouted, "Are you blind? Don't you see?" And he was so livid, so angry. And then he came inside to meet Shankaracharya that "I have come and I am prepared." But Shankaracharya said, "But look at the way you reacted about a minor incident. Your anger is so much. How are you going to be a good disciple? You realize your mistake?" "Yes, sir." "Then go and do austerities for another 6 months and then come back." This time when he comes back, Shankaracharya has instructed the maid, "Last time you swept the dust. This time you take the broom and as if accidentally you have touched his clothes with the broom. So you pretend that you are sweeping, and when he is approaching, you strike the broom and it touches his clothes because his level has gone up. So this time you will have to do a bigger test." And he gave some reward to the maid who is so scared to do this. So this time the a scholar comes and the maid strikes the broom. It touches and soils his clothes. This time he doesn't shout, but he looks at her with great anger. And then he approaches the master. Sir, I have come in. Oh, you came in. Last time you had got so much angry, you had shouted. And this time your anger was silent. You looked at her as if you will swallow her. You have so much of anger within. How will you do sadhana? How will you do spiritual practices? So go back and come back after 6 months. And now the aspirant returns after 6 months, and the instruction to the maid is, this time his level is so much higher, so you have to pour your basket of dirt over his head. And the maid was really scared, but then she was given the monetary reward. She agrees to do what the master says. So this time the aspirant comes in fully prepared, and the maid has poured the full bucket of dirt and all the garbage over his head. But the disciple does not get angry at all. Look at the transformation. Rather, he falls on the feet of the lady and says, "Oh mother, you are my true guru, my true teacher. You have taught me how to manage anger, and thank you very much." The guru was watching all this. He came out, embraced the disciple and said, "Now you are ready to be my disciple." So, anger management, greed management through the amazing 2 verses from Bhagavad Gita. This is our meditational technique for this week. Take care and see you with such favorite shlokas from Bhagavad Gita in the next video. Take care.